What year is it as of the Dreaming City stuff? A while in the future. So in ancient history, there were a couple of really sad books that are basically the Hive Bible. Here's where the bipedal bugs called the Hive are from, those sad books, as well as King Shit of Bug Mountain, who will not show back up for a while. His name is Oryx. Yeah, brother! And yeah, basically the Hive just... They're bugs that want to conquer because they have formed a pack with darkness worms that just eat them alive if they don't kill enough. So, real bad for them. Also, there are robots called the Vex that do weird time stuff. They're just all over the place already. They've won, since time travel is canonically bullshit. So... I mean, put it this way, it's been a couple centuries since we discovered the Traveler at the time of this game, and that was modern day. Like, today, that we discovered the Traveler within Destiny timeline. Yeah, so there are time robots that are just fucking everywhere, and we don't know why, or how they got there, or when they got there. There are the sad books that describe the history of the Hive and the rise of King of Shapes, Queen of Math, and Queen of War. Bunch of other stuff. So, that's all you need to know. Hive are bugs, Vex are robots, Vex do time travel, Hive do murder. And magic. Then, we cut forward a couple hundreds of thousands of years. And, this species called the Fallen, who, one of the enemy factions. I know they weren't called that originally, Destiny lore folk. You don't have to do that to people who are just watching this video. This is supposed to be a simpler version of the lore. And I've already gone into like 6 different names. That's how this bullshit goes. So anyway, the Fallen are in a golden age because the big orb, known as the Traveler, that we have in present day, is there and basically just giving them an unlimited amount of lifeblood, food, drink. Yeah, they got shitloads of whatever the good shit is for them. So they're like, oh yeah, this rules. And then the darkness shows up, which is generally not good when you got the light god just chilling above, you know, your society. Or one of the light gods? Unclear. So they get incredibly fucked up. King of Shapes just extremely destroys them. For the darkness, naturally. And the orb just pieces the fuck out. It's like, well, it's been great, but y'all, I gotta go. Take easy. And they're just like, well, that's not great. Orb does not like Other Shape, because Other Shape is trying to kill Orb. There's something about the Hive, home planet, da-da-da-da. We're not going into the Hive, we're not going into the sad books here, because, I want to do that some other time. Simple sad books. But, for now... What you need to know is, the Fallen had the orb once. They kind of miss it. Because it gave them a lot of the good shit. And just let them live in peace and harmony for a while. As they're wont to do. So now they're just a race of salvagers. They could not fight off Oryx and all that other shit. So, Orb left. Orb's like, hey, you all try to defend me. And they're like, yeah, we'll do our best. And then just get fucking bodied. So, Orb left. They could not protect Orb. And you might be saying to yourself, in fact, we'll not go into that right now. Like I said, I want to keep this relatively simple-ish. And we've already spent like 5 minutes on what are these races. So we got the bugs, we got the bugs with magic, we got the time-traveling robots, we got the scavengers, who just have guns and loved the Orb once, but the Orb left them. They're very sad. And then we got an empire of like rhino-looking people who live in an age of, and I'm going to quote here, under the Emperor, the Cabal Empire became a seat of all-encompassing hedonism and revelry. So basically, they used to kick ass. Except for the whole conquering, like, a lot of races thing. But he even gave some of their conquered races a seat at the table. Let them live in revelry too. It's probably not great overall, but that's what he did. So at some point in the past, that emperor is overthrown by some folks who are like, you know what's really good? military rule. And he's like, well, that actually sounds like it sucks ass. And they banished him to the edge of the universe. So yeah, you got extreme space imperialism slash hedonism. You got, which is now just extremely space war. You got the time traveling robots, you got the bugs, you got the people who used to have the orb. And that's most of your basic factions. You got bugs. You got orb havers. You got rhinos with military power. And you got, well, yeah. the robots. I think I didn't say the time robots yet. Time robots, by the way, my personal favorite. So then, Orb, long after having fucked off from the previous folks, shows up in our solar system, and just starts terraforming Mercury and Venus, and a couple of Jupiter's moons, and we're just like, hey, what the fuck's this orb that's making planets habitable in our solar system? Could we get? It looks like it's heading for Mars. Can we head it off there and say hi? Because, like, on the one hand, thank you. On the other hand, what the fuck are you doing here? So humanity prepares a mission and goes off to Mars, finds the orb, and the orb just goes, y'all seem cool. How you want to be elevated to a golden age? And we're like, that sounds pretty fucking dope, actually. And thus it happened. Humanity gets, like, uplifted by the orb, the traveler, with knowledge of extreme technology, long-lived lives. Like, the average human lifespan was like 200 to 300 years in the golden age. It was fucking wild. We also make some robots that we shove human consciousnesses into for hard labor. Or because they're better at labor? This part is pretty unclear and sounds a bit fucked up if you delve even slightly into it. Weird. Anyway, that's a player race now. It's just a bunch of cool robots. They're one of the player races now. Don't worry about it. So we head over to Venus and we find a bunch of the time robot shit, and we're like, okay, based on all that we know, this shouldn't be here. We should probably investigate that at some point. So we get pretty nervous and we start making big robots, or well, not big robots, but big computers, with the sole goal of like, hey, figure out ways to defend us from the fucked up horrors of space, please. And we name it Rasputin, because that seemed like a good idea at the time. Fuck it. We also make like really cool nanoparticles that I'm sure will never come up again, that can build anything. And we didn't put a kill switch in them, because we were so confident in them. This will never come back to bite us in the ass. So, Traveler heads over and starts terraforming. I think Io was the last one. He was just chilling on Io. And then the space satellites start figuring out, hey, there's some shit at the edge of our solar system. And the Traveler realizes, hey, there's some shit at the edge of your solar system. And fucks off back to Earth because the thing that fucked up the people who had the orb previously have finally caught up with it. So Traveler usually just pieces out whenever this thing shows up, but for whatever reason, it's desperate or it's really happy here or what have you, it decides to stick around. It decides to actually protect Earth, and against literally all odds, it actually wins a bit. It manages to push them out of the solar system and then completely shuts the fuck down. Because, well, it used up all it had. And then, when it dies, it makes a bunch of ghosts, which are these little guys. Mine looks like a snowball right now because that's just how things are. So the ghosts are basically, they got a little bit of light in them, where the orb had a lot of light in them, but the orb's shut down now. Orb ain't gonna do it, so it needs ghosts to do something.
I've got your back.
Yeah, needs our orb that needs to have our back. So yeah, but needless to say, or maybe needful to say, we lose the shit out of the fight against the darkness on everything but Earth. Every colony humanity's made has been completely and totally annihilated from every other planet we've gone to. Everything that we did up to this point is basically null, as we'll return to Earth, where the giant orb has just barely managed to save on our continued existence. Whoops. We lost. So then, Earth is kind of a hellscape, because a lot of it got raised during the war. But then, some of these ghosts that the Traveler made, they start raising people. Just these friendly little robots just kind of go, oh, hey, you seem like my eternal soulmate. And then they just bring somebody back to life. And a couple of people naturally went like, hey, this seems pretty cool. I'm going to be a warlord now. I can't die, so I am going to take every territory I want by force, and you're all going to like it. And some people raised their hands and said, do we get a say in this? And the answer was no. And then some other people who also had ghosts said, hey, we have a say in this, and they said, okay, bring it. So, eventually, during all of this, a bunch of humans just decide, you know what? Fuck the orb. Fuck the darkness. I want literally no part of this. Peace out. We are gonna head for the edge of the solar system and find out whatever's beyond it. They get to the edge of the solar system, or maybe it's just the asteroid belt. They don't get very far before they run into the darkness, which pretty much, like, starts ripping them apart on a fundamental level. So they stick a bullhorn out the side of the ship and they just start shouting, I swear to God, you dumb motherfuckers, we are neutral. We don't want any part in your war. Please, we're just trying to be the non-involved party. So that ship full of people got torn apart and turned into the first of the blue-skinned race of people, called the Awoken. So now we have the robots we made, who got extremely fucked up and, had human consciousness in them, but ultimately they got as fucked up as humanity when we lost the war. We got regular humans, and we got the blue-skinned people who got ripped apart by darkness and put back together with some dark and some light in them, just to keep things a little bit balanced. So, everything's looking pretty fucked. There are a bunch of warlords on Earth. Those guys that were following the orb because they had it first, they're showing up to loot. The Space Rhino Empire is showing up because one of their scouting parties showed up and said, hey, this orb thing seems pretty dope. We're going to take over Mars and set up a beachhead. And anybody that tried to leave the solar system was either completely destroyed or got turned into space elves. So, not really all working out for everybody involved. Like, just as a whole. At this point, we also become acutely aware of the fact that there are bugs on the moon. And apparently they want to kill the orb. Go figure. What doesn't want to kill the orb at this point? Oh well. So the bugs are basically late to the party. They got a more, like, long-lasting plan to kill the orb. They didn't join in the big fight beforehand, but such is life. So then, during all of this, a bunch of people on Earth, a bunch of humans, and the machines, and even a couple of the blue people who decide to bail on the new elf race, which is just sitting in the reef at this point because... And by the reef, I mean the asteroid belt. Because they named it the reef. Because they tied a bunch of asteroids together. And that makes a reef. I'm not entirely clear on this, but... a couple of the magic people come back to Earth and are just like, hey, alright. A couple of the machines are just on Earth with human consciousness in them. They're just like, yeah, okay. And then a couple of the humans are like, yeah, this sucks ass. There are warlords basically everywhere. What if we just made, like, a safe spot underneath the orb where there's, like, a little bit of that latent light just kind of protecting us from anything that might try to fuck us up? And they start making, like, a little tent city underneath the orb. And then tent city starts getting a little bit bigger. They start making more fortifications. You know. And naturally, a bunch of factions get formed and the city nearly tears itself apart. Fucked up. So while we're all doing this infighting, those scavengers show up and they're like, hey, we want to fuck up your new city. We're like, please don't. And there's a real big fight with all these folks. There's just like they're coming from like 6 sides at once, and they're just extremely fucking us up. But somehow, incredibly, all 6 sides that they're attacking manage to hold tight with all of the folks that have kind of banded together to defend the city, who've started calling themselves Titans, because that sounds good. Yeah, they managed to win the fight, including one very bright spark who is very motivated to win this fight because they are absolutely convinced that they met a person from the future who's gonna just save the shit out of the city that's here someday. And they think they're real cool and they want to live up to their legacy. Everybody else thinks they're full of shit. I mean, obviously, spoiler note, they're not. We're probably gonna time travel at some point. It's weird. That guy's cool, though. The guy who has the ultimate faith in us. I'll actually give him a name. That's Saint 14. He goes on to do some cool shit. So, yeah. At some point during all this, one dude starts getting way too into research about these weird moon bugs and is promptly kicked out of the city for moon bug research. Not like in a friendly, like, hey, go research the moon bugs way, but in a, like, you're becoming obsessed, please stop kind of way. And there's not much that we can do about that. Damn shame. Oh well. Oh, also at this point, this is gonna sound a bit out there. There were a bunch of wish dragons? Like big space dragons that grant wishes? And we killed the shit out of them because they're doing like monkey paw wishes and all that shit. So all these new guardians who are helping guard the city, because that's what they started calling the people who guard the city, is guardians. Because that sounds good, right? All of the guardians in the city are just like, yeah, monkey paw wishes actually suck ass, we should probably stop. So we kill all those. We basically just kill all of them as far as we're aware. Damn shame, I'm sure they'll never show up again. So, the city's a bit bigger now. They actually formed like a little bit of a government in which all of the faction people get a little bit of a say, and one of each each guardian class, because we've started like separating them into classes now: warlocks, titans, hunters, or like wizard, tank, assassin. It's basically how it goes. We get one of them on the count, just one of each, to kind of represent the rest of them, because we think that's a good idea. And it actually kind of works out. Sort of sticks around. And one dude that speaks for the orb, because orb's important. Gotta have somebody to speak on behalf of the orb. And that's your government. So at this point, we got a little bit of a city going. We're riding high on the whole, you know, managed to fight off fucking everybody at that big fight thing. And we're like, you know what? We should get those bugs off the moon. So they go to try to fight the bugs off the moon. Like thousands and thousands of people. Who are all, like, you know, technically immortal, as far as they're aware. They incredibly lose that fight. Holy shit, they get decimated. Everybody goes to the moon, and then one dude who is the son of the King of Shapes from earlier just kind of fucks everybody up, like destroys them. He's completely invincible, basically. His son was behind the whole moon. The King of Shapes was behind the whole moon caves thing, vis-a-vis his son was there. So, we fucking lose the moon war. So, 6 Guardians decide to try to do a kind of sneaky assassination mission to maybe kill that guy, the one who's fucking us up. So they bring a bunch of people, include one who's kind of sad all the time and is way into judo, and that dude got kicked out for his moonbug obsession, and a couple others. They try to assassinate Shitty Son of Bug Mountain, And they succeed, sorta. But the bugs have a weird thing where, like, they basically have, like, a phylactery sort of effect where they store their soul elsewhere. If you don't kill their soul, they don't really die. Damn shame. So, his soul and all of his bugs just killed the shit out of all 6 of those people. Probably one of them might have lived. Guy that went to research the bugs, though, very reduced to pretty much nothing. So, the son isn't quite dead, but he's physically dead at this point. So, you know, we're suffering from a pretty bad loss of the whole, bug fight thing. And, at this point, we're just kind of reeling from, 6 of our best and brightest also just went out there to try to kill King Bug. And, didn't really do it because apparently they're immortal as well, but, like, in a different way. And at this point, we've more than figured out that if they break your ghost, your little robot buddy that hovers above your hand, brings you back to life, you're dead. You can't revive anymore because the thing what brings you back is gone. Damn shame. So as it turns out, the 6-sided fight that we had was not going to be the biggest fight that we'd seen in the city yet. Basically, a larger than usual shitload of the scavenger race. They used to have the orb show up and try to take the orb back. And I'm talking like way too many of them. They were actually missing part of their army, but we're not paying attention to that. We barely won this fight as is. We're not gonna think about that. So thousands and thousands of guardians again die for good, defending the city, but we do actually manage to hold. So following this, they start establishing like some ground rules, like, okay, maybe we actually go start taking out high value targets in this war before they murder us. Or, hey, maybe we send small Guardian strike teams to take out, like, key locations. Or one guy with a bright spark and one horn goes, these people are immortal, I am gonna have them shoot the shit out of each other to get better at it, and I'm gonna be the most encouraging dad of all time, and that's Shaxx, and Shaxx is the best. You get to know his name, too. Shaxx is the best because he just wants you to be your best self. And he runs the PvP arena. Because if you have a bunch of immortal assholes, yeah, have them shoot each other. It's good practice. Who is trying to shoot things at me? In any case. So, anyway, all of the folks who used to be on, like, representing those classes for the city, pretty much all of them have died at this point or been exiled. The old Warlock class rep, he got accused of being way too into the time robots, and also of thinking, like, we gotta figure out a way to actually beat this darkness force that's behind all of our enemies' armies somehow, and people are just like, no, I'm sure it's just them. So he's like, alright, I'm gonna fuck off to Time Robot Town, and I'm just gonna hang out there forever. Peace. So he leaves. He gets exiled. The old Titan class rep, the one that believed some hero was going to come and make the last city a true shining beacon of hope, he goes and solo kills an unreasonable number of the scavenger race, the Fallen, outside of the city. He nearly dies despite the fact that he has his ghost completely, like, unharmed. It just used too much light. He was actually starting to wear down the battery on this immortal robot that's keeping him friendly and alive, killing thousands upon thousands of these things on his own. But he's so good at killing them that aggression of these things around the city takes a noticeable dip at this point in history. Again, this is Saint 14. He's cool as hell. He didn't do it with a crew either. It's just the one dude. It's unreal. Absolute legend. True inspiration. But then he comes back and finds out that his old Warlock buddy got exiled for being way into time robots, and he goes off to hunt for him, and we never see him again. Which is unfortunate. I miss him. We might see him again. Oh yeah, and the old Hunter class rep? Well, surprise, Hunters are kind of really shitty at staying alive. So there have actually been like 5 by this point. So that ain't great, but such is life, I guess. So that's just how things are going now, is there have been like 5 of them. The most recent one got himself killed by one of the scavengers. I swear to God we killed that guy. He was probably dead before. I'm virtually certain of it. But anyway, so the old reps are out, and we get our new reps in of Lance Reddick, Gina Torres, and Nathan Fillion. Who lead the Titans, the Warlocks, and the Hunters, respectively. Would you stop that? I said stop that. Please. It's causing flinching. Friend, I'm begging. Uh-oh. I don't think I'm gonna get all these. Help. Help, computer. Whoop. So yeah, that's basically where we're at right now. There's a whole bunch of shit that's been going down. We got kind of a new trio leading the charge, and they've been doing that for a little while. The bugs are extremely on the moon, and we're not allowed to go back because do you remember what the last time that we tried to take the moon? Everybody died. Literally all of them. Our good friends who were researching all this shit have just gone off somewhere else. Damn shame. And just overall, things are still kind of fucked. And then someone who, depending on when you started playing Destiny, is either, shit, who voiced, no, I want to say it's Nolan North, or, what the fuck is his name? I can't remember his name. Peter Dinklage. There we go. Either Nolan North or Peter Dinklage wakes up some dipshit who died in old Russia. And that's where Destiny 1 starts, because that dipshit is you, and you're about to kill every god that has kept you trapped in this city. And maybe even some that haven't. And some other folks that just made you mad. And King Shit of Bug Mountain. And his shitty son. And everybody that came near here. And the Vault of the Time robots that they were all using for themselves. You are just going to basically fuck up every single plan that everybody had for Earth that was not you. But that's some stories for other times. Because that's Destiny up to the point when you get revived. That's all the backstory. And honestly, it's just mostly like, here's how this city was founded. Here's why Saint 14 kicks ass. Here's why Shaxx, the guy who runs the Crucible, is just the best dad of all time. He's training a bunch of new Guardians, like just raised people, to like, try to be better? Since all of the old guard got themselves killed defending the city. You've got a bunch of really supportive, like, undercast and also the Drifter, who are just here to see you all succeed and really want the city to go okay. And then you got all the enemy factions, which are still very much trying to do their own shit. But it's probably fine. And then somewhere the darkness is probably coming back, because this whole thing is light v dark. Why not?